So I've been an artist for a really long time. I am by no means professional, I'm very much intermediate, but I am good enough at art to where I get a lot of questions on improving, or maybe even some other skills I have, like putting myself out there, or being able to write very, very extensively about pretty much anything. And generally, the advice I normally give people for getting into art, or any creative hobby for that matter, is just do it for fun for a while, and then when you start feeling ambitious, you can start practicing some other more in-depth things, like for art it would be anatomy, or perspective, or maybe even shading. But there is one thing I've been doing a decent amount of, and I think it's great for putting yourself out there as an artist. I also like to think it helped me with improving, but honestly I think this is better for community building and actually getting your projects done. And that would be... Basically, the challenge goes that every fourth post you make has to be... Well, actually, whatever the fourth post you have to make is entirely up to you. The challenge first started when an artist I liked drew one of my OCs. I thought it was pretty cool and drew one of their OCs back, which was when I realized 4 posts before that I drew someone else's OC as a request, and 4 posts before that I drew one of my friend's characters, which gave me the idea that for the entire year of 2022, I'd make every fourth post of mine fan art of somebody else's OC. But I didn't stop there. I decided to include a little essay about each artist covered in the description of the post. The year after, I dedicated every fourth post to being a chapter in a fanfiction I worked on called Reign of the Worded Devil, releasing an absolutely insane total of 39 chapters, though the last one had to be pushed into January of the year after, which does remind me I like to use January of each year as a time to post backlog stuff as a bit of a calm before whatever my next challenge is. I delayed the start of last year's challenge by an entire month, and honestly I've been delaying the start of this year's challenge a little too, but in 2024, the challenge was each fourth post had to be practice. This was a rough year for me, and I didn't have a lot of motivation, so in complete honesty, I didn't end up doing much with this challenge. But it did lead me pushing myself and trying to make something more ambitious every fourth post, so I think it was still worth my while. I think these fourth post challenges are pretty tied to how often you post. Like in 2022 and 2023, there are around or even over 150 posts in each of those years, and that is an absolutely insane number for me to achieve. If you're someone who posts less frequently, I'm not sure how far it'd get you. But that being said, for me, the fourth post challenge did lead to me getting a lot more motivation for posting more frequently, so who knows, maybe one could lead into the other. I'm not sure how it would go. It depends on the individual, I guess. You could probably imagine this already through the mention of my art having a lot of history, but I've been doing art for a decent while now. I started on DeviantArt back in 2020. that was 5 years ago now, with an account called Chemical Bakery. And recently I've been trying to rebrand to this. If you're also an artist, you probably know how DeviantArt's changed a bit, which really is a shame for me because I love the site's features, especially the badges and how it lets you write very in-depth descriptions. And this is honestly part of the reason for my rebrand. So because of this desire for a rebrand, the state of this site, and my account's 5-year anniversary coming up, I'm deciding to use my fourth post challenge for doing a bunch of things relating to an anniversary. Since I'm considering leaving DeviantArt at some point, not soon or anything, I still want to celebrate my online history. Of course, whatever you use your fourth post challenge doesn't have to be anything like what I use as the examples. It can honestly be whatever you want, but some things I will say, if you're interested in doing a fan art challenge, 2 main things. 1, since it's a challenge that involves other people, you need to make sure that the person in question is comfortable with you drawing this, especially if you're someone who's like me, who likes to make very critical essays about the artist. I personally prefer surprising the artist with fan art, so I don't ask in advance usually. There are often clues you can get into if the artist is chill with you drawing or critiquing their OCs. Obviously, if they have their opinions on it in their bio, that's a pretty good indicator. But if they already have fan art, how they reacted to it, or how they respond to criticism or feedback in comments is often important. Second, I wouldn't really recommend drawing exclusively your close friends' OCs or doing posts asking for people's OCs to draw. You can absolutely do that, and I did both myself when I did the challenge. This is such a great opportunity to find new, especially niche artists and learn about their OCs, read any stories or webcomics done by the artist, learn about their character's lore, or try and dig a little deeper to find out what their inspirations are. Whenever I make a fan art post, which I'll be honest, I haven't really made many of recently, I really want to work on that, people usually tell me that it's very uncommon for people to analyze their art that way, and I really do think that's a shame. I love writing essays, and I think critique is a skill that can be improved on, so I'd highly recommend being a little more elaborate about them. I asked a friend of mine, some guy with a coconut, if he'd be cool using this post as an example. But this wasn't done in 2022, but I still really like going a bit more ambitious with the complex backgrounds in these posts. Oh, and also check out this artist or my absurdly long essay about them. Even did an audio commentary with some editing, if that's more your style. As for my advice for anyone doing a fanfiction related challenge, make sure not to bite off more than you can chew and try and think of what you'll be doing directly after the challenge. I was doing a new chapter around every week, well, more a week in 2 days, but those were still after me making 3 other posts and an extra drawing for the cover of the chapter, so like 4 drawings, 3 with in-depth descriptions, and a chapter of a book in a week. Obviously, on top of school and social life, it was pretty insane, and I immediately lost all motivation after finishing the story, just being so drained and not knowing where to go next. So don't be as insane as I was, and try and plan things out more. Oh man, I'm so excited! I finally got my 39 chapter fanfiction completed! What now? The time lapse going on in the background was actually something for the anniversary challenge I mentioned, and these are all a bunch of OCs that I made in 2020. Some of the OCs I still use, but some of them are much restoring, so it was really interesting just revisiting some of my older OCs. I didn't actually do that much with my art in 2020, so it was pretty fun. Revisiting them, and I think I drew about all but one of the OCs that I posted that year on my DeviantArt, so that's pretty great. Oh, and I made an entire dedicated video about the redesign process of my mascot, Ika, and I used another completely different design for this video, so let me know your thoughts of that design in relation to the one that I used previously. Oh, and since I try to add something new to the background in every video, I'm gonna add this. Wha-bam! That's really about it. It's not really much of an artist grind thing. Well, actually, it might be. Motivation has some pretty strange powers, so I guess it really depends on the individual. This is a really fun challenge, though, and I highly recommend doing it. Yeah, there isn't really any larger point to this. Hope you guys enjoy my challenge, and if you're insane enough to do it on your own, then tell me how that'll go. I'm sorry, I'm really bad at outros.